Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I want to talk about Battlefield 2042 because this game has had a massive explosion in popularity. I was so surprised I had to hop on and play myself. The gameplay you're seeing is my own, my first time playing Battlefield in almost 2 years, and from the bed rig, mind you. So I'm going to be bad and a little bit underleveled, and we're mostly playing on the brand new Redacted map. So let's take a step back to why I'm making this video. I was shocked to see in the comments section of my MW3 skill-based matchmaking video that Battlefield 2042 is popular. So I checked around and I noticed that it's actually a top 10 Steam game right now, according to Steam charts. And even if it's not top 10, it regularly has over 100,000 active players per day, which is weird because I thought it was dead. It was dead like a couple of weeks after launch, and even in that skill-based matchmaking video, I had this to say about it. And Call of Duty is the lone standout that I'm aware of that has a focus on casual play instead of its competitiveness. Oh, I think in one. Battlefield is a pretty casual game, but Battlefield 2042 is pretty much dead. So obviously I'm wrong, but for the most part of the last 2 years, I would have been completely right. The game launched at about 70k on Steam and very rapidly lost its player base, going down to about 3,000 players per day, and in some instances even less. It pretty much stayed that way and really genuinely was a dead game up until about 4 weeks ago when it out of nowhere exploded up to 100,000 players. I actually made a Twitter clip about this and a TikTok, so we're going to go ahead and play one of those where I review the numbers. Today for this game, only 47,000 players, rapidly going down to having 2, 3, 4,000 players at any given time. You know, we get some big updates, some season passes, but it goes back down and it struggles. Up until this DLC event, it was, 7, 8, 9,000 players a day. After the free-to-play weekend, they put the game on sale for $10, and look what the Steam charts did. Here's like, 3,800 players. Boom, now we're blowing up to like 100k plus every single day. But the question is, what happened? Why did this happen? How did this game go from literally dead and probably abandoned to top 10 Steam game? I was shocked and I legit had no idea why. So I reached out to Level Cap Gaming to ask him what was going on, and he was gracious enough to explain to me the changes that EA and DICE made and some of the events and how the community responded. So I'll apologize ahead of time if my video sounds suspiciously like his, because that's where I got a lot of my information from. And just shout out to Level Cap in general, one of the good guys of gaming. I always thought of him like Ace and I for Call of Duty, a really level-headed, wholesome gamer. So the story is a lot of things happened all at once. First of all, Battlefield just launched Season 6, which is unfortunately likely to be its last season. They haven't announced any future seasons coming, which is not a good sign. And it's kind of a darker, more cyberpunk, more grim type season. That's a good thing because that vibe is overall really popular right now with the resurgence of Cyberpunk 2077. Laserhawk is killing it, Retro Wave is in, and it's perfect in time for Halloween. Everybody's trying to do spooky, and Battlefield is doing like cyberpunk post-futurism grim spooky, which is working. Season 6, this is probably one of the most important parts, came with a map called Redacted, which is almost all of the gameplay you're seeing here today. I think I mostly played Redacted, handful of other little maps. And this map is essentially a reimagining of old school Operation Locker, which is to say it's an infantry-only close quarters map. Lots of tiny little hallways, little clustery rooms, limited cover, grenades everywhere, lots of infantry, no vehicles, no gadgets, no weird, well, some weird spawns, but none of like coming in on the other side of the map kind of spawns. And that seems kind of counterintuitive because Battlefield has always been known as this game that has these gigantic maps and open plains and 3-mile snipes, and you know, you're jumping out of a jet and shooting a rocket at somebody and kind of things like that. But a lot of the most popular maps in Battlefield have always been tiny infantry maps like Operation Locker or the rough equivalents in other games. Battlefield 1 was that was special. I love Battlefield 1. That's a different video for a different time, but a lot of their popular maps were tiny little infantry maps as well. And for the CoD players watching this, this is roughly equivalent to adding Shipment and or Nuketown back into CoD. CoD players say they want to snipe, they say they want creative maps, they say they want this, but a huge chunk of people just want to jump right into the combat right now, start shooting, try to get a quad kill, die, whatever, just go and do it again. And the developers recognized this. So they brought back Redacted, which is again similar to Operation Locker, but they didn't just bring it back as it was. Obviously, it's a different map, but they wanted to remaster close quarters gameplay as well. And they tried some new techniques, they tried some trial and error, and they were really trying to perfect this to make an even better Operation Locker. And they seem to have succeeded because this map is extremely popular. It's the only thing almost anybody is playing on the game right now, even with 100K players. I've been playing it, and it's fun. This is kind of what I wanted, which feels weird because I love the vehicles in Battlefield. I love the scale. The maps are beautiful and all that kind of stuff. I'm always the guy using the wingsuit, flying around, trying to get weird clips. But this was still like a refreshing change of pace for the game. Now, I've said all this, but the most important little fact in the story is yet to come. EA DICE wisely had a free-to-play weekend to show off all of this new stuff as soon as Season 6 launched. So everybody could hop in and play this new map for free, and it was really popular. It's not surprising at all that the game went from like a couple thousand players to 10,000 players for the free-to-play weekend. But seeing that, they wisely made the decision to put Battlefield 2042 on sale for $10 for a couple of days there. That sale has since ended, but apparently the game is very much so worth $10 to a lot of people because a lot of people bought it, and it actually retained 100,000 players after the free-to-play weekend ended. Typically, when you do free-to-play, you get like this huge number of players, and then as soon as it's over, like 90-95% of them leave, and you pick up a few sales. This was almost like 100% player retention, which is extremely impressive. And from a business perspective, this makes total sense. They're going to capture late revenue before moving on to the next title, and they'll probably make even more money than the $10 sales, just selling microtransactions, battle passes, and stuff like that. And then finally, one part of the story that most people aren't talking about is that the PC optimization for Battlefield 2042 is way better now. And this is important because Battlefield has historically been more of a PC game than a console game. Don't get me wrong, lots of console players are still playing. I'm pretty confident it's got crossplay still. But the meat, the heart of the community has always been on PC. And when the game launched, I was there. I was doing a promo deal with NVIDIA and DICE trying to promote this and show off the RTX graphics. I think I just got my 3090. It wasn't super optimized. You had to have a beefy rig for it to look good. It was struggling. It was chugging. Somebody else's computer caught on fire during the event. But after 2 years of refinements, new graphics cards, optimizations, and the fact that now there's been some like lag time so that most people have a GPU that can actually run the game, it's way easier to install it and play. That is kind of what happens to a lot of Battlefield games on PC, is that they're awesome graphically, but they're so demanding when they come out that not many people can really install them, so it becomes almost like a hobbyist game. Well, now it's optimized enough to where you could run it on medium settings, at least on almost any modern gaming rig. So after all of that, total player counts are probably just under 200K right now because you have to include Xbox and PlayStation. And also, Steam Charts shows you numbers on Steam, but a number of people got this game in the EA Games app. They've had a number of sales there, and I don't think when you boot the game up through the EA Games app, it shows on Steam Charts or anywhere else. I am going to assume, and I think logically so, that Steam is going to be by far the most popular platform, representing at least 50% of the players, if not more. And then if you add in Xbox, PlayStation, and just the EA launcher, it's probably a little less than 100K, so I would guess a little bit less than 200K, but that's still great. That's back from just a couple thousand players a day. That's like a, what is it, 1,000, 10,000% increase. I can't do the numbers off the off the top of my head here. You can see I'm excited. I had a lot of fun playing. And I just gotta say, good for DICE, good for EA, good for them. I know that this is primarily a Call of Duty channel, but I've always tried to cover other FPS games, and I've said this for years, and I'll probably continue to say this for years to come, that I always hope for the success of a new game. I'm never rooting for a game to fail. I always want a game to be good, I want it to be successful, I want it to be awesome. And even if that takes away from COD or whatever it is that I'm doing on YouTube and shifts the focus somewhere else, it's still good for the community because competition is good for everybody. As one game does better, another one has to innovate to do better still, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and man, game theory economics works, and the customer ultimately ends up with a better product. So, if you're one of the many people that had Battlefield installed 2 years ago, and didn't really like it then because it was setting your computer on fire or the maps were too big or something just wasn't very appealing about it, now might be a good time to reinstall the game and check it out because it's pretty fun and growing, and there's a ton of people playing, so you won't have to wait any time at all for a match. And I'm probably going to go back and play a little bit more too. This will be a nice fun warm-up before MW3 drops. All right, guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.